Hello students, I am Sanjana Kavatigi, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AITM, Belgavi. Let us begin with module number 1, that is basic structures of computers and machine instructions and programs. So to begin with, let us see what is computers. Computer is a fast electronic calculating machine that accepts digitized input information and then it processes it according to a list of internally stored instructions and then produces the resulting output information. So what is computer? The computer, it is a fast electronic calculating machine which will take the input in the form of a digital. Okay, so the input whatever we are giving to the computer will be in digitized form, and then it will process that information according to some internally stored instructions. So these instructions are called as computer programs, and the internal storage is called as computer memory. So the input whatever we are giving to the computer, it will be processed according to these computer programs, and then it will produce the output information. So we have different types of computers which are used for specific purposes. For example, they vary in size, cost, and their computational power. So for example, we can say desktop computers. These are used in home, schools, any business offices, etc. And then we have notebook computers. These are nothing but a compact version of the personal computers with all the same capabilities that is given by a personal computer. Okay, and then we have workstations which provide all the same functionalities of a desktop computer along with high resolution graphics for input and output capability. Okay, and then coming to workstations, in this we have on the lower ranges we can call them as enterprise systems or servers. On the higher end, these are called as supercomputers. Okay, so they have a very powerful computing capability, so which will be used in larger enterprises. Okay, so these are all these enterprise systems or mainframes. These are used for business data processing on medium to large corporations, and then the supercomputers are used for the large-scale numerical calculations that are required in applications such as weather forecasting or any aircraft design and simulation systems. Let us see what are the functional units of a computer system. So you can see in the figure, a computer consists of 5 functionally independent main parts, that is input, output, memory, arithmetic and logical unit, and control units. Okay, so what happens is the input unit accepts the coded information from human operators from electromechanical devices like keyboards, mouse, or any other computers over the digital communication lines. Okay, so the information that is received will be either stored in the computer memory or it will be immediately processed by the arithmetic and logical unit. So we will be studying all 5 units in detail. Okay, so it may be either stored in the memory or it may be immediately used by the arithmetic and logical unit to perform the desired operation. Okay, so the processing steps will be determined by the program that is already stored in the memory. Okay, and then after processing, finally the results are sent back to the outside world through the output unit. So all these 5 units are coordinated by the control unit. Now let us look at the information handled computer. So it is convenient to categorize this information as either instructions or data. So instructions or this can be called as machine instructions. These are nothing but explicit commands that monitor the transfer of information within the computer as well as between the computer and its IO devices. That is nothing but any external IO device that is connected to the system. It may be within the device or within the computer system, or it may be between the computer system or a computer system and IO devices. So they also specify the arithmetic and logical operations to be performed on that particular information. Okay, so a list of instructions that perform some specific task is called program. So usually the programs will be stored in the memory. The processor will fetch the instructions that make up the program from the memory one after the other and performs the desired operations. So the instructions from the program will be fetched one by one, and that particular desired operation will be performed. So the computer is completely controlled by the stored program. So all these operating system, any editors, compilers, whatever you have, all these are already stored into your computer. So basically how a computer works, it works based on the stored programs. Okay. So now coming to the data are numbers that are encoded characters and are used as operands by the instructions. Okay. So the data, whatever input you are giving it to your program is nothing but the data. Okay. So these data can be either numbers, or they may be encoded characters. Like if you press any alphabetical key, then how what value will be taken by the program? It will take the ASCII value. So that is nothing but the encoded data. Okay. So that is encoded character. Okay. These can be used as operands by the instructions. So the term data, however, it is often used to mean any digital information. So whatever information you're giving it to your program, any input, that can be called as data. So within this definition of data, an entire program, that is nothing but a list of instructions, may be considered as data if it is to be processed by another program. So whatever input values you are giving it to your program, that is also data. Suppose you are giving your program itself as input to another program, then that program can also be called as data. Okay. And then we have something called as compiler. Okay. What is the function of compiler? Compiler will convert the high level language, that is source program, high level language program, into machine instructions. Okay. That is done by compiler. So that machine instruction code will be called as object program. Okay. So source program is nothing but the program written by the user. Whatever we write is all nothing but the source program. So once it is given to the compiler, it will convert that high level language to machine understandable language. What language machine can understand? Machine can understand only in terms of zeros and ones. So that high level language code will be converted to machine level language code, and that code is called as object program. Let us understand these functional units of the computer one by one. Let us consider memory unit. So the function of the memory unit is to store programs as well as data. So what the computer can handle? Computer can handle data as well as it can handle programs. So the function of the memory unit is to store both of these. Okay. So there are two classes of storage. One is the primary storage and the other one is secondary storage. So the primary storage is a fast memory that operates at electronic speeds. Okay, so programs must be stored in the memory while they are being executed. So the memory contains a large number of semiconductor storage cells that is capable of storing 1 bit of information. So these semiconductor storage cells are nothing but they can be registers or flip-flops. These will be studying in the AD subject. Okay, you'll understand it better. Okay, so the memory is nothing but it is consisting of a large number of semiconductor storage cell. Each of these cell will be capable of storing 1 bit of information. So 1 bit of information is what bits and bytes. Okay, what is the size of a byte? It is nothing but the 8 bits. So these 8 bits will be stored into 1 bit of this entire 1 byte will be stored into one of the semiconductor storage cell. So 8 bits means 8 storage cells will be used. Okay, so these cells are rarely read or written as individual cells, but instead they will be processed into groups of fixed size called words. Okay, so these bits, normally you will not be using this data in terms of bits. Always you will be grouping these bits, and either you use it as a byte or probably you'll be using it as words. Okay, so word can be of fixed size. It may be of 4 bytes, 3 bytes, depending on the type of the machine you are using. Okay, so the memory is organized so that the contents of one word which is containing n bits, can be stored or retrieved in one basic operation. Okay, now suppose if I want to add two numbers, what I have to do, I have to fetch two numbers and then perform the addition operation. So this two one number, like if I'm doing 2 plus 3, this 2, whatever this value is there, this will be stored in terms of a word. Okay, so when I try to fetch the value 2, entire word will be fetched. I will not be fetching it in terms of bits. Okay, again this 2 will be converted to some binary encoding, and that will be stored into the memory. So when I'm fetching it, I will not be fetching bit by bit. I will group these bits, and then I will that group I will be calling it as word, which is of n bit size. Okay, so that entire word will be fetched, and then the operation will be performed. Okay, so that is retrieval is nothing but, you can call it as a one basic operation, one fetch. Okay, at once you are fetching one value, it has to get the entire word. Okay, whatever value is stored in that entire word, that will be fetched. Okay, so to provide easy access to any word in the memory, a distinct address is associated with each of the word location. So now how do you get any data from the memory? You should know the address. For example, if you want to um, go to your friend's home, how will you go? For that, you should know his address first. In the same way, if you want to take any data from the memory, you need to know the address of that particular value, and then only you can go to that address, and then you can fetch that particular value. So these addresses are nothing but numbers that identify the successive location. Suppose memory location, there are some thousand semiconductor storage cells. You'll be naming them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll be giving the address from 1 to 1000. So these addresses are nothing but numbers that identify the successive locations. Okay, so a given word will be accessed by specifying its address and issuing a control command that starts the storage or retrieval process. Now, if I want to store any data, or if I want to retrieve any data from the memory, what I have to do? I have to locate the address of that particular data. Okay, and then I should send a control signal which says that if I'm fetching, it will generate a read signal. Okay, it will be reading the data from the memory. Okay, and if I want to store the data into the memory, it will generate a write signal indicating I'm storing some data into the memory. Okay, also the number of bits in each word, it is often referred to as the word length. Okay, the number of bits that are constituted in a word is called as word length of the computer. So normally it ranges from 16 to 64 bits. Okay, so the capacity of the memory is one factor that characterizes the size of the computer. Okay, so the data are usually processed within a machine in units of words, multiple of words, or parts of words. So how the data is processed, it will be normally processed in the machine in terms of words, multiples of words, or parts of words. So 16 to 64 bits means it can consist of from 2 bytes to 8 into 8 bytes. Okay, 2 bytes to 8 bytes it can constitute of. Okay, so the memory in which any location can be reached in short and fixed amount of time after specifying its address is called as random access memory. So this is the memory wherein the program, whatever you are writing, you are executing, will be stored. Okay, so we can reach the particular memory location in a fixed amount of time and also specifying its address. So that memory is called as random access memory, that is RAM. So the time required to access one word is called as memory access time. How much time you are taking to access one particular word from the memory, that is called as memory access time. Okay, this time will be fixed independent of the location of the word being accessed, and that varies from system to system. Okay. So this the largest and slowest unit is referred to as the main memory. So this memory is called as main memory. Okay, RAM. Okay, Next, we also have something called as secondary storage, that is used when large amounts of data and many programs have to be stored, particularly for information that is accessed infrequently. So we have two stages of memory. One is, as I said, one is primary memory, the other one is secondary memory. Primary memory is something which can be accessed in a fixed amount of time, no matter where the required data is present. Okay, so that amount of time will be fixed, so that is called as memory access time. And the size of the main memory will be always smaller. Primary memory and main memory are same. Okay, we will be using the word interchangeably. Coming to secondary storage is nothing but your hard disk. Okay, so you will be storing large amount of data into the secondary storage. So whenever you write a program and click save, that program will be stored into the secondary memory always. Okay, but when you are trying to execute that program, that will be brought back from the secondary memory to main memory. So that will be brought back from hard disk to your RAM in order to execute that program. Next we shall see arithmetic and logic unit. So most of the computer operations are executed in the arithmetic and logical unit of the processor. Okay, so consider a typical example. Suppose two numbers located in the memory are to be added. Suppose if I want to perform addition operation on the two numbers which are located in the memory, so they are brought into the processor and then actual addition is carried out by the ALU. You can see from the figure, arithmetic and logical unit along with the control unit together, it is called as processor. Okay, suppose if I want to add two numbers that are located in the memory, what I have to do, I have to fetch those two numbers and then addition operation will be performed by the arithmetic and logical unit. So the function of arithmetic and logical unit is to perform the operations on the data that we are processing. Okay, so the sum may be after computing the addition, whatever the sum we are getting, that may be stored in the main memory, or it may be retained by the processor for the next immediate use. Okay, so any other arithmetic or logical operation, for example any multiplication, division or comparison of two numbers, which will be initiated by bringing the required operands into the processor, and then the operation will be performed by the ALU. So whatever operation, whether it may be arithmetic operation or any logical operation, what we have to do, we have to bring those operands into the processor and then allow the ALU to perform its operations. So when the operands are brought into the processor, they will be they're stored in the high speed storage elements called as registers. Okay, registers, REGISTERs. Okay, so when we are bringing them into the processor, they will be stored into the high speed storage cells or storage elements, you can say. Those are called as registers. Each register can store one word of data. Remember, it is one word of data, it is not one bit of data. Okay, so each register has the capacity to store one word of data. Okay, so the access times to registers are somewhat faster than access times to the fastest cache unit in the memory hierarchy. So we have different levels of memory hierarchy. We will be studying it in the upcoming modules. So just remember, the access to registers is always faster comparative to the any cache memory. Okay. Next we have is the control unit. So the memory, arithmetic and logic and input output units store and process the information, and they perform input and output operations. So the operation of these units must be coordinated in some manner. Okay, so the task of control unit is to control or monitor, or you can say coordinate all these units in some way. Okay, so the control unit is effectively the nerve center that sends control signals to other units and senses their states. It's like your brain, which will be controlling all other parts of your body. Okay, so IO transfers consisting of input and output operations that are controlled by the instructions of IO programs that identify the devices involved and the information to be transferred. So however, the actual timing signals that govern or monitor the transfers of information are generated by the control circuits. The timing signals are signals that determine when a given action is to be taken place. Okay, so the data transfer between the processor and the memory are also controlled by the control unit with the timing signals. So it is reasonable to think of a control unit as well defined physically separate unit that interacts with all other parts of the machine. So the remaining two units are nothing but input unit and output unit. So the coming to input units, computers accept coded information through input units which will read the data. So the most well-known input device is the keyboard. So whenever a key is pressed, the corresponding letter or digit will be automatically translated into its corresponding binary code, and then that will be transmitted over the cable to either of the memory or the processor depending on what type of operation is to be performed on that data. Okay, so output unit, coming to output unit is the counterpart of the input unit. So its function is to send the processed results to the outside world. So the most familiar example of such device is the printer. Okay, so printers employ any mechanical impact heads, inkjet streams, or a photocopying techniques, as in laser printers, to perform the printing. So it is possible to produce printers capable of printing as many as 10,000 lines per minute. Okay, so the function of the output unit is to show the results to the outside world. One example you can take it as printer. Okay, so it is said that printer we can have 10,000 lines of printing capacity per minute, 10,000 lines per minute. Okay, so this is a tremendous speed for any mechanical device, but it is still very slow compared to the electronic speeds of a processor in it. So even though we think that it is of a good speed, but when we compare it to the machines which is processing the data, it is comparatively slower compared to the electronic speed of the processing unit. Now let us just summarize the operation of a computer. Okay, so the computer accepts the information in the form of the program and data through the input unit, and then it stores it in the memory. Okay, so the information stored in the memory will be fetched under the program control into an arithmetic and logical unit, and that is where it is going to be processed. Okay, so this processed information leaves the computer through the output unit. That means that will be shown to the outside world. So all these activities inside the machine are directed by the control unit. We shall continue the next part of this module in the upcoming videos. Keep watching. Thank you.